Hello, everybody. This is Rick Wilson with Martin Associates. Thanks for joining us today for lunch. Hopefully things are going well for your businesses out there so far this year. At this point, we're going to go ahead and get started. I think we've got everybody in the session. So we're excited to present our Lunch and Learn session today, covering the benefits of Acumatica, some of the specific comparisons to Dynamics GP. Excuse me. And when you think about Acumatica, Acumatica's true cloud platform and award-winning usability really does make it, easy adoption if and when you're ready to move off your Dynamics GP system. So we've got a brief presentation of some slides, and then most of the content will be looking at the product. So before we get started, got a couple of housekeeping items. We're going to have this recorded, and it will be emailed to you so you can reference any of the information later on. And then if you'd like to have any questions, you can use the chat or the Q&A. We'll be monitoring both, and we'll follow up with those near the end of the session. And so I think we're ready to move forward there. I think I already alluded to the agenda is going to be mainly the demonstration, but we've got a few things we wanted to talk about with Martin Associates and Acumatica. So we can go to the next slide. So I think you guys know things about Martin Associates already, but I'll do a quick recap. So we're coming into our 34th year here, and most of our employees are based out of the Cincinnati area. I'll be introducing Tom today. He's actually lives in Denver. We'll be presenting the rest of the session today, but we're made up of business process folks and CPAs. We have technical programmers and have some hardware expertise as well. And we've been working with Acumatica, Sage, Microsoft ERP systems for a long time. And we also work with Acumatica CRM system. So we've got a lot of ERP implementations over these 34 years, and our engagement team implementation methodology, where we assign a team, so you are used to the same folks as you go through the implementation and when you move on to support. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. So I'm going to go ahead and have Tom Ferris from Martin Associates take it from here, and assume, Tom, you're ready to roll.
Great. Yes. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Welcome, everyone. Again, I'm Tom Ferris, Acumatica Practice Manager here at Martin Associates. And today, per our agenda, I'll conduct about 3 minutes worth of introduction to Acumatica through some slides, highlighting for this first image some of the industry reviews. These are all available, all this content's available on the web and the publisher's website, but I want to kind of give those that may be less familiar with Acumatica a little quick introduction before we dive right into the product and see some of these benefits play out, especially when compared to a legacy system like the Great Plains. So I'll move quickly through a number of slides that various industry players and reviewers have presented regarding customer satisfaction associated with Acumatica, user sentiment rankings, IDC's mid-market cloud ERP rankings. I like to point out in the upper right there that the two characters ahead of Acumatica in this image, Oracle and SAP HANA, are not really mid-market. That's really enterprise scale. So it's not quite totally fair in my opinion, as far as the ranking, but nevertheless, Acumatica, a significant, very significant leader in mid-market cloud ERP, according to IDC. This is our friends at Nucleus Research, which once again place usability, Acumatica on the kind of top of the heap there, and again, it's our functionality. Competitors there, some of those are not exactly mid-market that we see, Oracle's full cloud and SAP HANA enterprise solutions. All right, so we're going to see evidence today of Acumatica's cloud basis. That's where it was born, and this image, the idea is to convey that it doesn't really matter what your operating system is, your browser, where you're physically located, that or even if you like very, very small prompts on your watch, that Acumatica's cloud accessibility is native and doesn't cost any extra. It just comes by default, regardless of deployment mechanisms, which we'll talk about. I won't go through all the points on the Acumatica's customer bill of rights, but really big differentiators are it's a SQL database in the back end. So leveraging Microsoft technology, which is widely accessible, and that Acumatica makes the full database available to customers really at any point in the life cycle, including exiting. So you're not forced to receive flat files. An actual relational database is available to a customer at any point in time for their entire database. So that's significant. Acumatica's commitment year over year, 12 years running now, to a maximum of 3% annual increase in software license costs is also a very significant differentiator. Okay, so that customer bill of rights is out there on the web. You can find it, as well as all the license agreements. They can all be previewed even during exploration on the web. And we'll talk about that near the tail end. Acumatica's licensing models, the primary of which is based on consumption tiers, allows for essentially unlimited users. It means that there are not types of users, small or limited or reporting only. The unlimited user licensing allows for every person in your business, whether to perform higher analytical functions and be plugged into the database, even if they are not responsible for accounts payable execution, for example. It's a significant differentiator, the ability to have an unlimited number of users in a very modest pricing model. Next, deployment options. The Amazon Web Services, or AWS public cloud, is Acumatica's SaaS offering, software as a service, but that's not the only option. You could also elect to have your own private server or private cloud solution, either yourself or with a cloud provider other than Amazon. Okay, so we have deployment options. Acumatica pre-built integrations and the ISV ecosystem grows daily. There was a time when this slide was a little easier to present a few years ago, but basically each quarter, dozens of very common ISV extensions. The most common, of course, being like Avalara, but all sorts of vertical-centric ISV extensions joining the Acumatica community. Acumatica does not sit on its laurels at any point in time as far as product functionality, breadth, depth improvements, and expansions. Two major releases a year mean that a service provider like Martin Associates will help customers with the upgrade process, and some of those upgrade process options include automated upgrades annually. Okay. We'll highlight possibly at the tail end of this, some of the training materials that are available right out there on the web. If you are multitasking during this session, you can simply Google Acumatica Open University and find this web page that's referenced here on the image, and review the outstanding amount of content that's available for free to everyone at any point in their ERP exploration and training journey. I won't spend much time on this particular slide because what we want to do is get to the demo and actually see some of these things, these benefits of an embedded CRM. We talked about the customer bill of rights. We talked about data ownership and deployment options as far as ethical business practices are highlighted here at the bottom of this. What we really want to see is the platform in action. So, gotcha. I'll come back to this. The tail end of the demonstration, if we have time, we'll take a look at some of the publishers' customer testimonials these are specific. We'll actually drill down to specifically how to identify Great Plains conversion customers, including C&O Nursery, actually a business that I had a chance to work with for some time. All right, so now we're switching over to the demonstration. I'll minimize PowerPoint. We'll take a look at Acumatica. We'll start from login. Logging into Acumatica. Again, with a true web-based interface, accessing a SQL database, that means that login that I just did could have been from a mobile phone, could have been on a tablet. I happen to be running Windows 10, surprise, but you could be running, you could be on Linux or an Apple device and use Safari rather than Chrome or any other browser to log into Acumatica. Now that we're logged in, and I've chosen a particular homepage dashboard for customer view, I want to point out that there is no data warehouse behind Acumatica. All the KPIs and dashboard elements that we see on screen here, these are all live. And so if users in the system conduct an import or resolve a challenge or provide an update, simply refreshing my browser screen or even a given KPI, which we can actually tune to update themselves at certain frequencies so that my dashboard loads even faster. These are all real time. If I want to understand orders to ship, this inquiry, the underlying inquiry that comes up here, this is in real time of these sales orders and their account status and drilling into a particular sales order reveal. The details live. Okay. So with a live SQL database behind, and there's no waiting for or outdated KPIs based on a kind of middleware data warehouse. The user themselves gets a chance to set their individual profile if you grant them access to this, in that perhaps they have a particular time zone that they want to have all the time prompts within Acumatica revealed. If your business does have multiple branches, divisions, regions, really the company and branch structure in Acumatica is unlimited within a common shared chart of accounts. You can have an unlimited number of companies and branches, where a company and or its branches underneath it are defined by whatever makes sense for your business. They could be an EIN or not. And if you grant access through role-based security to a given user to interact with multiple branches, multiple divisions, multiple companies, multiple locations, however you partition that up, they can elect to have a particular default branch be denoted in their profile and a particular homepage. All right, so let's pop out of that. Come back to my my dashboard, other kind of navigational cues. The left navigation here in Acumatica, these are the workspaces or modules of Acumatica. And each user has a chance to refine how they interact with the workspaces or modules that they're granted access to through security. Finance, we'll be looking at this today. We'll be taking a look at a profit and loss example, as well as account details. And within this view, if I have access to possibly modify the master financial calendar and monitor it, open periods, even make modifications to the chart of accounts and sub accounts as necessary. How often I deal with each of those things, I get to actually determine that. Clicking that gear up in the upper right allows me to decide that the chart of accounts and sub accounts are something that I personally don't really interact with very often. I might be responsible for period closure, so I'll leave the master financial calendar on my short list. But this allows me to kind of tune all the features that Acumatica does come with to my needs. Next level of kind of drilling down to what really matters to me the most is this little yellow star. So if this profit and loss and this particular profit and loss quarterly view financial statement are important to me, I can come in and hit a favorite. And specific to me, I'm building a favorites page. And the favorites page is pointing out the modules or functional areas of Acumatica and which objects under there that I need to pay attention to. So today, this is a little preview of some of the things that we're going to look at. We are going to look at company and branch structure. We'll visit some additional dashboards. We'll look at some examples for the AP lifecycle, including scanning inbound documents. And then, of course, we'll spend some time in financial and organizational structure. If there's clutter on my left navigation panel that I don't regularly need, I can come in to say this configuration workspace, toggle this push pin sideways, and I've cleaned up my left navigation panel. Once I get used to the left navigation panel prompts, I could actually collapse that up to the top and actually gain a little bit more real estate in my primary pane, and then just kind of invoke that menu when I need it. That's another option. I'm going to expand this to the left for today. All right, so that's a little bit of navigational cues. Let's move along here across the top to the universal search. Basically, Google for Acumatica. So I type in 1099, and I get there's 4 chapters of return based on the string or data that I put in that field. First chapter is, are you looking for an object in Acumatica, like a form or a report? And then it'll actually put those under headings that 1099s are managed under, surprise, accounts payable. Next chapter of return is looking through that string and asking, were you looking for a particular document? So here's an AP bill associated with a project called 1099, or a vendor that's actually called 1099, or an inventory transaction that is numbered 1099. Third chapter of return is, were you looking for like a specific help topic? And we'll talk about the contextual help that's available on every page in Acumatica under this question mark here as we move through our demo today. But perhaps I was looking for some guidance, a process, guidance on closing of 1099 here, in which case I could pull that up. The fourth chapter of return is Acumatica actually scanning through the database of attachments. So this is, in this case, it's an image file, but PDFs of vendor bills, those can be searched through this function as well. Moving across the top blue bar here, the next kind of navigational assistant that's persistent throughout the system is recently viewed. So what do I come back to over and over again? What was I dealing with before I went on my lunch break? I can come right back to a given expense report that I was perhaps working on or reviewing, or remember that a particular GL batch I still have it on hold and I haven't released it yet or posted it. Talked briefly about the branch structure. We're going to dive into that in a minute. The system also allows us to Sorry, I had to clean that up. System also allows us to predate or postdate. This is a security permission you can give to certain users who need to put in bills from last week. And then putting them in, we need them all kind of predated back to the 22nd. Okay. For some of our demonstrations today, I'm actually going to use this feature and elect to have richer data that I know is in this example data for some of our reports. I'm going to backdate us a year. Okay. We talked about the contextual help. And now we are basically ready to move on to a quick demonstration of how Acumatica's usability impacts lists and searching for particular documents beyond the 1099. I'm going to move over here to our bills and adjustments form and highlight some of Acumatica's document level filtering. And then we'll dive into some inter-branch accounting examples. All right, this is a very long list. It's 2,800 documents. And first kind of navigational piece is perhaps the post period is the most important column, or a more important column for me. Scanning out to the right about some of the other columns that are present in this this list. Maybe the amount field is something I want to bring a little further forward in my view. Okay, so we have drag and drop capacity. These are settings that each user gets to determine. As an administrator, you could elect to say, this is the most common view, and actually promote that view to users and then allow them to make modifications within that. But each user gets a chance to modify how they see screens. Column configurator over here invites us, that's this little button, invites us to pick up additional data elements that mean the most to that particular user. So I want to see the balance on these documents and the branch, for example. And those two columns, I'm going to pull them further forward. So this is another way to arrange the columns that you see that matter most to a given user. Still got 2,800 documents. So numerous ways to filter things down. Clicking on this column here and clearing all. Maybe I need to pay attention most to those that are on hold, balanced, and the subset that are open. Right. So that's a quick filter. It kind of builds a little image, and you're reminded of the filter being engaged, much like Excel, right there. And now I'm down to the 78 records that I'm probably going to pay the most attention to. Next step would be, well, I want this view to be permanent. So if you give users permission to build their own filters, this little funnel icon allows me to basically build that same statement. What I'd really like to see for status equals on hold, or status equals, say, open. We'll save that. Comms hold dash open. And if felt that, though I named it for myself, if I wanted to actually promote that and share it with others, make it my default. What this means is, rather than whenever I click back into the bills and adjustments list, and let's clear the quick filter there. Rather than seeing the all records tab with 2,800, I'll visit my hold and open sublist of 78 records. These filters actually become the basis for dashboards that are available throughout Acumatica. All right, so there's quite a bit more to inquiring of and navigating to data in Acumatica, but that's just a quick preview of some of the most common features and a good starter. Love to show you more another time if that's possible. All right, it's time for us to move on. We're ready to look at some finance and organizational structural highlights of Acumatica. We're going to basically be looking at how easy it is to automate and even expand intercompany accounting. What I'm going to do is use this form right here, highlight another search, 2826. I got a particular document for us to look at to kind of set the stage for this exploration. Sorry, forgot to click there. All right, so I'm looking at a particular AP bill, and what I'm going to highlight here for us is this AP bill is buying from a particular vendor, Legos in this instance. A little bit silly as far as the item being purchased, but what I want to draw attention to is this, that a particular branch of the business, the East branch, which I'll pull this up here. So it's this branch of the business that's purchasing this item from a given supplier. And looking at the kind of life cycle of this bill, it's closed. There's a reason why it's closed. It has an application. It's got a check. And if we look at that check document, so the payment of this payable, the payment came from the parent company, not wholesale company. So let's pull that up again, once again here. This entity bought it, and this entity paid for it. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this part next. On the check itself, if we visit the financial tab where we understand which branch of the business paid down this liability, and we click on the underlying GL batch from the AP module, we'll see that the checking account was credited and the payable liability was reduced. And then meanwhile, Acumatica quietly built a due to, due from pair. So we have an auto-eliminating journal entry that Acumatica builds because we told it to, because we said these two branches need to have intercompany branch mappings behind them. So let's take a look at some of the underlying configurations real quick that drive that performance. We're basically looking at one, our branch record. So actually, let's go back to my favorites menu and use that as my navigation cue. If we visit the companies list and we look at a particular company, like our services company, this company has been told, we've told Acumatica, this is with branches not requiring balancing. So that's actually allowing for services east and services west and services south to possibly interact with one another without automated due to, due froms. But when the product's wholesale interacts with any other branch in the business, it requires balancing. Okay, so that's the first level of control or option. The next object is playing behind the scenes, and we're going to visit this in a moment. Let's go back to favorites here. Is interbranch account maps. So we've specifically told products wholesale that when services east, you're paying on behalf of services east as the originating branch. 1900 will be the offset account paired with 2600. Right, so that's what this is, the configuration that drove that behavior. What about when you add a new company? Let's go through that exercise. We'll show how easy it is for Acumatica to add this, to add an additional arm of your business and leverage the common chart of accounts, some of the predefined rules that are built in at the company level, and then quickly update the interbranch account mapping. All right, so we're going to do this. We're going to go back over to our services company and looking at the branches, moving around the compass needle, east, west, south. You can guess what we're going to do here and add. North dash services is the name of the branch. Obviously, I could fill in quite a bit of additional detail, including its proper legal name, an EIN if it has one, its own address formatting. I want to point out that Acumatica secures access to a given branch, division, store, region through security roles, if applicable. And once that's set up, and I review, any additional like delivery addresses, employees, by default, this new branch is going to be allowed to interact with the ledgers that I have set up. There's the actual ledger, but also pre-configured budget, reporting, and statistical ledgers that are ready to go. If I did need to differentiate the dimensions or sub-account constraints for this, I could add that in here. I could even make sure that when users log into that branch, that they understand a particular color scheme in Acumatica will remind them that they're interacting with different branches of Acumatica. Let's make that a little bit darker there. Okay, save. And I can even upload a logo. All right, so create a branch. Empower that branch to perform the same way in inner account mapping. There we go. There's that one on that side, and on the origination north. Oh, what's in there? I'm basically just putting in every range, natural account range in the chart from 000 to 90,000. So those are my entries there. Do to from. Gotcha. And we are off and running, ready to interact with a brand new branch. That means an AP bill that Products Wholesale is paying on behalf of services west, east, south, and north, is now empowered and ready to use that. Okay, so that's kind of a quick run through of that inter branch accounting highlight. Let's see this structure of multiple branches, including our newly created North branch, play out as far as the financials. We're going to visit our profit and loss and income statement. And we'll let that just run kind of wide open here. And I'll highlight, just like the dashboard that we saw at the beginning of this demonstration, if we click into a hyperlinked row, like the top line revenue, we'll see the underlying natural account contributions and the various sub-accounts. The sub-account structure in this demo data is basically 3 digits describing a particular product line, and then the other part is a department. Okay, but that's a user-defined structure. We drill down in, and since it's top line, surprise, most of the activity is from the accounts receivable module. I could drill into the underlying GL batches or bridge right to the actual contributing AR documents, in this case, invoices. Okay. And so that's quick drill down, very much like the dashboards that the financial reports will allow for the same. Let's clean up my tabs here. Pardon. All right, back to our profit and loss. So we talked about drill down and data accessibility. But what we haven't done is talked about how this financial report can be used really for any layer, node, or combination that we put together here in our branch, region, division, store structure. Here under groups, we see that I'm actually viewing this report presently in a consolidated view. If I drill into the services East branch, rather than a top line of $41 million for this period, we'll see that change to the $7 million that that particular division, branch, region, store is contributing. All right, so this allows, and these nodes would be honored based on the security that a user has, and that we could have folks who have access to an entire region, the entire business from a consolidated standpoint, or just one particular retail branch. And we can have one common report built for everyone, and then the security model will kick in and allow them to see only what's applicable or what they've been granted access to. Okay. Behind this, we're going to pop briefly into the architecture behind the financial report. We talked about how easy it was to add a new branch, set up the inner account branch mappings to leverage a common chart of accounts. But the financial statement roll-ups are also built from a user-defined set. Doesn't take a programmer to do these things. All right, so we can come in here and look at, this is the consolidated view here at the top. And then per our branch structure in Acumatica, we added a new services node called North. So this would be my kind of third and final edit to add my new group. North services. And this example gives us a chance to take a look at Acumatica's flexibility as far as the ways data in a financial system is driven. Are you looking for an entire company's worth? A particular branch worth? A start and end range of accounts? Are you looking for, say, a wildcard statement that reflects the sub-accounts for a particular division or product line? What we're doing here is actually coming down into the branch field and selecting North. And there we go. So we just set up for one or more reports that use this unit set that I want to be able to report everything, just the products company, just the services company, or click into particular nodes within the business at the branch level. All right, so that's basically our quick editing of a profit and loss example to get it to reflect our newly added branch. For example, and drill down. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at how easy it is to actually generate an AP bill using some of the common workflows in Acumatica. We've got our structure set up properly. Visit our bills and adjustments form here. And let's remove that filter I left on there. We're going to add new. We'll choose a vendor. And the vendor record comes with, its predetermined terms. I could override that for this particular document. I have their invoice number. And what we want to do here is kind of take advantage of setting up this payable liability across multiple divisions or branches. I'm logged in as from the wholesale division, but I could be procuring material or, in this case, services for or paying for against a contract. Services that are I procure centrally, and then they're consumed by various divisions or units within the business. So we'll say one at 50 for North, and South store is also, of course, has internet services that we're paying for. You notice that when I start typing in phone or internet, that Acumatica is searching through not only the code, our non-stock code for phone, internet, but also through the description field, so that users can find these values however suits them best or what they remember. what we're doing here in selecting an inventory, oops, I forgot to put my project code in there. Okay, apologies, I have project accounting turned on in this module, so it is requesting me to declare that this is not associated with a particular project. By selecting a quote inventory ID, a non-stock item for phone, what I'm really leveraging is a non-stock configuration that's predetermined the natural account, routing this expense to the proper GL code and an applicable sub-account. Okay, so it's an optional constraint so that we simply select phone and we automatically get the account coded in there. And if that's one of the most important aspects of my data entry for a particular user, then pulling the account and its description forward so that as soon as I type in phone in the inventory ID field for the non-stock item, I get confirmation that I'm coding this AP bill correctly. All right. Taking this document through its life cycle, editing things on hold, remove from hold. This is an optional feature of approval mapping that can be designed to have multiple levels. So this document looks like it's triggering both administrative and operational reviews before it's allowed to post. And possibly based on which department, what I'm buying, or attempting to purchase, or even a dollar amount threshold. So the approval map feature in Acumatica is robust and it's present in a lot of places in Acumatica. Just to kind of show an example, if you happen to be a super user, the way I am logged in as administrator, you can actually bypass those approvals, but it will keep track of the fact that it was Maxwell Baker who actually approved those, even those were routed for approval by Anna and Eric. Okay. And then our release process. And again, each of these steps can be monitored by or controlled by security. So I might be eligible to get it all the way through approval, but to not turn around and actually release it and actually post into the general ledger, which it's now done. All right, so little ease of AP bill entry, highlight of approval map, automation that can be easily added. Let's take a look at another technology feature of Acumatica, and that's machine learning and scanning. And we'll kind of repeat this process for an incoming bill, but we'll let automation do a little bit more work for us. What we're going to do here is coming back to our favorites. We're going to let our bills and adjustments screen be addressed by an incoming document being scanned by Acumatica. Right, so in kind of legacy terms, this is OCR, Optical Character Recognition 2.0. Now combined with machine learning, where the system gets better and smarter each time it encounters, say, a particular supplier's invoice. Bear with me here. I'll get a file representing an inbound email on screen here. So one way to do this is I read my inbox manually, and then I take the PDF that the supplier sent and allow Acumatica to scan it. That's one option. Another workflow is we actually give Acumatica credentials to accounts payable at organization.com, and Acumatica monitors that inbox for emails with a PDF attachment and will attempt to scan them, and that can actually be automated. That's what this schedules icon we see on form after form in Acumatica is about, is the ability to actually automate the process. All right, so let's watch this in action. We'll pull this on here. So the document's ready. This PDF is ready to be scanned, and we'll hit, we can select certain documents if we wanted to. Again, this can be automated. We'll allow it to recognize that PDF. And this will take a few seconds, 8 seconds. The more Acumatica learns about a given document, the faster it gets. So here's our newly recognized document. Let's pop in there. All right, so this is an intermediary screen. We're not at an AP bill yet. We're at the incoming documents screen. And the system has performed a scan. Assuming that it's a bill, it has successfully identified the vendor. If we click on the vendor screen here, Acumatica will highlight the field that it's obtaining that information from. So I click on date, for example, and you can see this little green highlight there. It's picking up the due date from the document. We'll put in a vendor reference, which it's actually picking up here. Next bit of scanning that it's done already on our behalf is the detailed total. If we click on the amount, you can see that it went down to the bottom of the document and picked up the total. Apologies that my PDF image is fairly low quality, but this is a good demonstration that even like a poor scanning, like kind of a low resolution PDF that was generated by whoever generated this was actually missing some things. Next bit of detail are the actual detail lines. So Acumatica here, as we click into these fields for transaction description, we can actually see the highlight. And if we need to help Acumatica, we can augment what it's done. If it's missing an inventory ID, we could actually help point this. So pass number 1 achieved this much, and if we need to augment that a little bit, Acumatica will remember that and be better about scanning this particular supplier's format the next time around. I'll point out here briefly, this example doesn't have a purchase receipt for a 3-way match, but that's also part of Acumatica's AP document recognition. Once I'm satisfied that the scan was done, again, this process could also be automated. Maybe I don't want to review this. I just want to see how well Acumatica successfully takes the inbound email, scans its PDF, and turns it into an AP bill for me automatically. Maybe I have a little bit more augmenting I want to do now that it's been built, but I hit save, and I've got a document that's on hold and already has the PDF image attached in Acumatica to the AP bill for me without having to type anything. All right, that's a quick AP document highlight. The features that we've seen today, I know we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure that we left room for some questions. So at this point in time, Martin Associates would like to invite our attendees to ask, do you have any questions about what we saw, or maybe an interest in seeing something else? I'm wondering if monitoring the chat, are there any questions I can address? And feel free to take yourself off mute.
There's a question about allocations there, Tom.
Excellent. Okay, gotcha. Perhaps allocations in the general ledger. Got it.
Right.
So if, say, an AP bill, so one example, of course, would be in that the AP bill, we don't know how it should be allocated across branches, divisions, sub-accounts, departments, etc. There are automated processes and predetermined rules in the run allocations process, and the allocation rules settings in Acumatica that can actually perform the allocation or, in some cases, reclassification automatically. And go ahead.
It may also relate to, like allocating costs that get put to one GL account, maybe through any type of entry like journal entries and other AP invoices throughout the month, and then allocated like at the end of the month based on percentages or.
So again, allocation rules can be set up in the finance module, and then those allocations can be run automatically on a schedule. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2 would be kind of a typically more manual reclassification of transactions. And the third way that this gets addressed would be to have recurring transactions. So actual GL posts that reverse or allocate or even enter on behalf of like a known schedule, those can all be pre-built and even set to auto reverse when applicable. So yes, those tools all exist, and that might be a great follow-up demonstration for the Martin Associates team to provide.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Good. Good question there. Any other questions or? All right.
Gotcha.
Well, looks like we're. Let me just make sure I check this other area here. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so we have a question about the cost in the chat. That might be a loaded question. I guess, Tom, you can just maybe address that big picture with, you know, the volume-based pricing and the different types of transactions.
Yep.
That the system looks at.
Sure. At a very high level, for general financial needs, we start with just GL, cash banking, AP, and AR processes. There are kind of two ways to kind of enter into Acumatica. One is Small Business Edition, which allows for up to 10 named concentric users. And the other option is the Advanced Edition, which allows for unlimited users. And we have customers who will enter in at the Small Business Edition and then expand without having to do a reconversion. It's just a license change to go from Small Business Edition to Advanced. Small Business Edition starts at an annual subscription of around $7,000 or $8,000 a year for a full SaaS deployment. That means that all IT infrastructure is removed from cost. It's all included in that $7,000 a year for Small Business Edition. Disaster recovery, redundancy, cloud hosting, backups anytime you want. So no more hardware, no more network, no more VPN, none of that, all gone. Advanced Edition for that same, allowing for unlimited users, would start about $15,000 a year. Again, that allows for unlimited users.
Right, and then that would start getting into the area of like, you know, how many AP invoices are you processing? And if that number starts to get, you know, high, then the tiers go up and then the subscription, you know, increases as that volume increases.
Correct. So consumption-based licensing really asks this: when you transact with the outside world, labeled as commercial transaction volume, what Acumatica is really doing is tuning how many servers, how many server processing cores and RAM and space are required for your business to meet really the needs of the highest of any commercial transaction volume type. There's 8 of them. They are the likes of sales orders, AP bills, customer payments, purchase orders. Whichever one of those document types is the highest, that ends up determining the license tier. Yep. Yeah. Really, the best way to handle that is for the Martin Associates team to receive some specifics, and that kind of guide you through a few specific questions and provide you an accurate quote for your business.
Gotcha. So hopefully that helped there, Scott.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Okay, see anything else there? All right. Well, like I mentioned here earlier, we'll be sending out some follow-up emails with a link to the recording, so you can revisit any of this, and of course, you know, talk to your account manager and who you work with at Martin Associates to find out any other info. As Tom mentioned, we can certainly dive deeper into any of the topics you'd like to talk about. And yes, hope you had a good lunch during the lunch and learn. So thanks again for everybody attending. Your time is valuable there. So hope you have a good rest of your day. And Tom, thank you. Great job. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
And we'll follow up with everybody soon. Have a good day.